The chandeliers inside the Ritz-Carlton shimmered like frozen constellations, catching every flicker of gold from the birthday candles glowing atop the three-tier cake. Dozens of guests in glittering evening gowns and tailored tuxedos lifted their champagne flutes, waiting for Chase Whitford, the golden boy of Whitford Capital, to make his grand entrance. But he wasn't looking at them. His eyes were locked on me. I stood there clutching a small gift wrapped in navy paper, my palms damp. All I'd wanted tonight was to show up for him, to bring him something meaningful, something that came from the only place I still had control over, my heart. When Chase stepped forward, the room erupted into applause. He basked in it, smiling wide, the kind of smile that made people believe he could do no wrong. And then he lifted a hand, motioning me closer. "Marissa," he said smoothly, "you said earlier you had a birthday wish to give me." The room quieted. Every eye turned toward us. My throat tightened, but I managed a small nod as I held the little box out to him. "It's nothing big," I whispered, "but I wanted to grant you something tonight. A wish." Something from Chase laughed. Not a soft laugh, not the one he used in private when we were alone and he pretended to care. No. This was a loud, sharp, slicing laugh that echoed off the marble floors. The kind of laugh made for an audience. "A wish," he sneered. "Marissa, go away. You're embarrassing me." For a second, the world split open. My ears rang. Heat seared my face, and then the crowd erupted. Not in sympathy, not in awkward silence, but in cruel amusement. "Oh God," someone snickered. "Is she serious?" another whispered. Chelsea Voss' voice cut through the laughter like a blade. "She's the charity reject of the company. What did you expect?" My knees wobbled. 20 cameras lifted. Flashes burst like fireworks, and I felt something inside me crack the last piece of pride I had been clinging to. The gift slipped from my fingers and hit the floor with a soft thud. I didn't even recognize my own voice when I whispered, "I'm sorry," as if humiliation was something I owed them. I turned, stumbling backward through the crowd as laughter swelled behind me. Someone recorded me. Someone else pointed. My vision blurred as I reached the exit, my breath shattered into pieces. But just as I pushed through the glass doors into the freezing Manhattan night, a tall figure stepped into my path. His coat black wool brushed lightly against my arm. His voice was low, controlled, unexpected. "Don't apologize for the cruelty of small people." I froze. He knew my name, and he wasn't smiling. His next words cut through the cold air with a force that made my heart stop. "Marissa Lane, we need to talk." The cold Manhattan air slapped my cheeks the moment I stumbled out of the Ritz-Carlton lobby. Snowflakes drifted under the streetlights, landing on my lashes, melting into warm streaks as tears blurred everything. My breath came in shallow bursts, half sob, half shock. Behind me, laughter still leaked through the revolving doors, muffled but sharp enough to pierce. I kept walking until my heels snapped my cheap black pump, giving up before I did. I staggered forward, catching myself on the stone railing that overlooked Central Park. My fingers trembled as I gripped it. For a moment, I let myself crumble, shoulders shaking in the cold. That's when I felt a shadow fall beside me. "You shouldn't walk alone in this condition," the deep voice said. I turned. Elias Mercer stood there, coat collar turned up against the wind, eyes steady and unreadable. The snow didn't seem to dare land on him. My voice cracked. Why did you follow me?" "I didn't follow you," he said calmly. "I came to make sure you weren't hurt." Hurt. Such a simple word for the kind of humiliation that burns into your bones. "I'm fine," I whispered, wiping my face. "I just need to get home." Elias glanced down at my broken heel, then at my trembling hands. "You're not fine, and I don't appreciate lies." His tone wasn't unkind, just precise, like he was someone used to truth slicing through chaos. "I didn't mean to ruin anything," I murmured. "I shouldn't have been there. I shouldn't have stopped." One word. Firm. Final. I froze. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. What happened in that ballroom wasn't your failure. It was his. The truth of it made my chest tighten painfully. I should still go, I whispered. People think whatever they're told to think, he interrupted, especially when someone powerful benefits from the lie. I looked up at him then. Really looked. His eyes weren't pitying. They were calculating, almost analytical, as if he'd just discovered a puzzle with my name on it. A black Mercedes slowed at the curb. Elias nodded toward it. Come, I'll take you home. I shook my head. I can't. I don't even know you? He stepped back, giving me space, but his next words made the snow itself pause. You will, and sooner than you think. The Mercedes door clicked shut with a soft, expensive thud, sealing me inside a capsule of quiet warmth. City noise dulled instantly. Snow streaked the windows like white scratches against the night, and for the first time since the ballroom incident, I could breathe without feeling knives in my lungs. Elias slid into the seat beside me, his presence filling the space without effort. He didn't look at me right away. Instead, he spoke to the driver in a low, controlled tone I couldn't quite hear. The car eased away from the Ritz-Carlton, gliding into the flow of Fifth Avenue traffic like it belonged there. Where's home? He asked finally. Queens, I murmured, embarrassed. Astoria. His brows lifted slightly. Not in judgment, just surprise. It will take about 20 minutes. You should rest. Rest. As if my mind wasn't replaying the laughter, the whispers, the burn of humiliation. But awareness crept in. Elias Mercer wasn't just some man in a nice coat. He was the Mercer, the one whose firm practically controlled half of Park Avenue's legal landscape, the one rumored to dismantle corrupt corporations before breakfast, and now I was alone in a car with him. I clasped my hands together, trying to steady them. You didn't have to do this. No, he agreed. I didn't. Silence pulsed between us, the kind that reveals more than it hides. Finally, he turned slightly, studying my face in the dim glow of the dashboard. Tell me something, Marissa. Why did you apologize tonight? My throat tightened, because Chase said. He shook his head. Not what he said. Why did you believe it? His words hit with the weight of truth I'd spent years avoiding. I exhaled shakily. I guess I'm used to being the one at fault. There. The part of me I never said out loud. Elias leaned back, watching me differently now, not as a fragile mess outside a hotel, but as someone holding together 1,000 fractures. You weren't the problem, he said quietly, but you're about to become someone's solution. I frowned. What does that even mean? He didn't answer. Instead, he picked up his phone, sleek black CEO standard, and typed something with swift precision. A message tone pinged, sharp and final. Then he set the phone down and faced me fully. I need you to be prepared for tomorrow, he said. My heart kicked into a faster rhythm. Prepared for what? His expression hardened, the softness gone. Because your name is about to be dragged into something far darker than humiliation. By the time the Mercedes reached Astoria, the snow had softened into a misty drizzle. Streetlights cast pale cones of light over cracked sidewalks and old brick buildings, my real world, miles away from the marble floors and glittering laughter of the Ritz-Carlton. When the car eased to a stop in front of my apartment, I felt suddenly exposed, like Elias was seeing the truth of me in a way Chase never cared to. This is me, I murmured, embarrassed by the peeling paint and flickering hallway bulb visible from the doorway. Elias didn't react with pity. If anything, his expression sharpened, like he was cataloging details for reasons I didn't understand. You live alone? He asked. I hesitated. With my younger brother, he's 19, college student. He nodded, as if committing that fact to memory. When I reached for the door handle, he spoke again. Before you go, I need you to know something. I froze. Whitford Capital is under federal review, he said. Mismanagement. Possible fraud. My stomach dropped. What does that have to do with me? That's the problem. His eyes locked onto mine. Your name appears in preliminary documentation. I felt the air punch out of my lungs. What? That's impossible. I'm a temporary assistant. I barely touch anything important. Someone wants you to look involved, he said quietly. Someone with enough access to plant your name where it doesn't belong. My pulse pounded in my ears. Chase. It had to be Chase. He needed a scapegoat. Someone disposable. Someone already humiliated. I didn't do anything wrong, I whispered. I know, Elias said. But evidence doesn't care about innocence. People don't either. Fear coiled around my ribs. Panic threatened to swallow me whole. Elias leaned slightly closer, lowering his voice. I'm telling you this so you can be prepared. Don't speak to anyone from Whitford without a lawyer present. Don't sign anything. Don't let them corner you. Why? Why are you helping me? My voice broke against the question. For a moment, something flickered behind his eyes, something like recognition or memory. Because I've seen this play before, he said, and I know exactly how it ends when no one intervenes. I swallowed hard, gripping the handle again. What happens tomorrow? His answer chilled me more than the winter air. Tomorrow, they'll try to destroy your life, and they think you won't fight back. The next morning felt heavier than any I'd lived through. My alarm buzzed at 6:15 a.m., but I'd barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Chase's smirk, heard the laughter, felt the cold edge of Elias's warning. By the time I reached the Whitford Capitol building on Park Avenue, the winter sun hadn't fully risen, casting long shadows through the lobby like dark veins. People stared the moment I walked in, not the normal glances I'd grown used to, the temporary assistant kind. These were sharper, suspicious, whispering. Aubrey Klein was leaning against the reception desk, a latte in one hand, her expression smug in a way that made my stomach twist. The second she saw me, her lips curled. "Oh, you actually showed up," she said brightly. "How bold." "I work here," I replied quietly, brushing past her. "For now," she murmured loud enough for the nearby interns to hear. My heart thudded painfully. When I reached my desk, a red envelope sat on top of my keyboard. HR's logo gleamed in the corner like a warning flare. My hands trembled as I opened it. Mandatory meeting 9 a.m. Subject: financial irregularities involving documents under your access. My vision blurred. This was happening. Just like Elias said. I forced myself to breathe and open my computer. Before I could even log in, the familiar internal system displayed an error message. Access revoked. A cold sweat broke across my skin. Across the open office, Chase appeared perfect suit, perfect hair, perfect liar. He spotted me and paused mid-stride. For a moment, his mask slipped, revealing a flicker of annoyance or fear. He approached slowly, lowering his voice so others wouldn't hear. "You need to take responsibility for the mess you made," he hissed. "I didn't make any mess." "You were careless," he snapped. "Someone has to answer for it. Better you than anyone that actually matters." My pulse hammered. "Why me?" His smile returned cold, victorious. "Because you fit the role, Marissa. No connections, no power, no voice." He patted my desk as if consoling a child. "At 9 o'clock, just sign whatever HR gives you. It'll be easier that way." Every word sliced deeper. He turned to leave but froze when the elevator dinged. Elias Mercer stepped out, flanked by 2 senior attorneys from Mercer Grant. His eyes found mine instantly, and Chase's confident smirk vanished. "Don't sign a damn thing," Elias said. "We're not letting them bury you." At 9 a.m. sharp, HR summoned me to the glass conference room, one of those sterile spaces designed to make people feel small. The frosted windows did nothing to hide the silhouettes inside. Chase, Aubrey, 2 HR managers, and a compliance officer I'd never seen before. A stack of documents waited on the table like a trap already set. Elias walked beside me, his presence steady, controlled, almost unnervingly calm. But the tension in the room shifted the moment he entered. Chase stiffened. Aubrey lowered her gaze, suddenly losing her smirk. The HR managers exchanged uneasy glances. "Let's begin," the head of HR said, clearing her throat. "Marissa, we've uncovered several authorization errors linked to your login. Funds were misallocated to an unauthorized portfolio. That portfolio," Elias cut in, "was created by someone with director-level access. A temporary assistant wouldn't have clearance for even the outer shell of that system." The HR manager blinked. "Mr. Mercer, this is an internal Whitford matter." "It became my matter," Elias said smoothly, "the moment you attempted to coerce my client into a confession without representation." My client. The words rattled through me, grounding and terrifying all at once. Chase leaned back, arms crossed, masking irritation under a forced calm. "We just need Marissa to acknowledge her mistake. It's procedure." "No," Elias replied. "What you need is a scapegoat." He stepped forward, placing a sleek black folder on the table. "My firm has already reviewed the internal access logs. Marissa's credentials were used at 2:14 a.m. 2 nights ago." He looked at me. "Where were you at 2:14 a.m.? "I was home," I whispered, "sleeping." Elias nodded, and Whitford's internal CCTV confirms she never entered the building that night. He turned to the HR team. "Someone cloned her credentials." The room fell silent. Aubrey shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting toward the exit. Chase's jaw flexed. The compliance officer finally spoke. "If that's true, this is tampering." "Fraud," Elias corrected, his voice dropping to a knife's edge. "And the attempt to frame an employee is a federal crime." My heart pounded. I wasn't imagining this. I wasn't losing my mind. Someone really had tried to destroy me. "And," Elias continued, sliding another paper across the table, "we already know whose account initiated the override." Chase's face drained of color. Aubrey swallowed hard. The HR manager reached for the document with trembling fingers. Her eyes widened. "Oh my God, this signature, this override belongs to Finish It," Elias said. "Say the name." The HR manager's lips trembled as she scanned the document again, as if hoping the letters would rearrange themselves into something less explosive. But they didn't. They stayed exactly where they were. Dark, damning, undeniable. "It's," her voice cracked, "this override belongs to Chase Whitford." Silence detonated inside the conference room. Aubrey stiffened, her fingers tightening around her pen. Chase didn't move. His smile froze, thin and brittle, like a pane of glass about to break. "That's impossible," he said finally, though his voice lacked its usual arrogance. "Anyone could have spoofed my signature." Elias leaned forward, folding his hands on the table with precise, quiet confidence. "Not this one. This is a level 4 authorization. Only you and your father have the credentials." A muscle in Chase's jaw twitched. "This is a misunderstanding." "No," Elias replied. "It's evidence." My stomach flipped, not in triumph, but fear. Evidence or not, Chase was dangerous. He had resources, connections, and absolutely no conscience. If he felt cornered, I knew he would lash out. HR exchanged panicked looks. The compliance officer scribbled frantic notes. Aubrey finally spoke, her voice thin. "Chase, you told me Marissa was the one who Chase shot her a glare so sharp it shut her up instantly." Elias didn't look away from him. "Mr. Whitford, Mercer Grant will be forwarding this information to federal investigators unless you provide a written statement acknowledging your role in the tampering." Chase stood abruptly, chair scraping against the floor. "This is insane. You don't get to walk in here and accuse me of a crime. This is my company." "Correction," Elias said calmly. "This is your father's company, and he does not tolerate liabilities." For the first time since I'd met him, Chase looked afraid. His eyes flicked toward me cold, calculating, venomous. "This is your doing," he hissed. "You think a nobody like you can trap me? Destroy me?" "I didn't do anything," I whispered. "You should have stayed quiet," he snarled. "You should have left when I told you to." Before Elias could respond, Chase slammed his hand on the table. "I want her escorted out until this is resolved. She's a threat, a distraction. Remove her." HR hesitated, glancing between Chase and Elias like they were choosing which god to obey. Elias rose slowly from his chair, straightening his suit. "Touch her," he said softly, "and you won't survive the consequences." The room froze, but then Aubrey stood, her voice shaking. I have something to add." Elias turned sharply, and the look on his face said everything. This was about to get much, much worse. Aubrey's heels clicked like nervous metronomes as she stepped away from the wall. Her face had lost all color, and for once, her perfectly lined eyes didn't look mocking. They looked terrified. She glanced at Chase, then at Elias, then finally at me, as if calculating which direction offered the least destruction. "I didn't know it would get this far," she whispered. Chase's head snapped toward her. "Sit down, Aubrey." She ignored him. The HR team leaned in, sensing a fault line splitting open beneath the conference table. I thought Aubrey swallowed hard. I thought he just wanted to scare her, not frame her for federal fraud. My breath caught. "You helped him?" Her shoulders shook. "He said if I didn't cooperate, he'd fire me, blacklist me, make sure I never worked in finance again." Elias's voice was cool steel. "What exactly did you cooperate with?" Aubrey twisted her fingers together. "I gave him temporary access to the assistant credential system. He told me it was just to check her performance records. I didn't know he planned to." "You liar," Chase roared, slamming his fist on the table so hard a pen rolled onto the floor. "You begged to be part of this. You hated her." Aubrey flinched but held her ground. "Yes, I was jealous. She got attention you never gave me. But I didn't want this." The HR manager scribbled frantically. The compliance officer muttered something about collusion and obstruction. Elias watched Aubrey with an unreadable expression. "Did you modify any documents yourself?" "No." Tears spilled over her cheeks, but I saw Chase do it. I walked in once and he told me to leave, and the night Marissa's credentials were used, he wasn't alone. My heart skipped. "Not alone?" Aubrey nodded shakily. "Someone else was with him." Chase's eyes burned into her. "Aubrey, don't." She ignored him again, voice trembling. "I didn't see the face clearly, but I know it wasn't just Chase. Someone higher, someone with power over him." A chill slid down my spine. "Who?" Elias asked quietly. Aubrey hesitated, then whispered, "I think it was his father." The room erupted. HR gasped. The compliance officer stood abruptly, and Chase lunged forward, grabbing Aubrey's arm. "You don't know what you're talking about." Elias stepped between them, stopping Chase cold. But Aubrey wasn't done. "There's more," she cried. "Something Marissa needs to know something about why she was chosen." Elias stiffened. I felt my heartbeat stutter. Aubrey turned to me, eyes wide with fear and guilt. "Marissa, he targeted you for a reason." For a moment, no one breathed. Even the hum of the fluorescent lights seemed to fade as Aubrey's words hung thick in the air. Chase's jaw tightened, panic cracking through the polished surface he'd kept so carefully intact. "Don't listen to her," he spat. "She'll say anything to save herself." But Aubrey shook her head rapidly. "No, she needs to know the truth." She turned to me, tears streaming. "Chase didn't pick you at random, Marissa." My fingers curled against the table. "Then why?" Aubrey inhaled shakily. "Because you're easy to disappear." The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. "What does that even mean?" Chase swore under his breath. "Aubrey, shut up your background," she whispered, ignoring him. "Your mother left, your father died in debt. You've moved apartments 3 times, you don't have stability. You don't have protection. No family influence, no network, no leverage. If something went wrong, if a scandal needed a name attached, you were the perfect target." The perfect target. Disposable, replaceable, invisible. A hollow ache spread through my chest. Aubrey continued, voice cracking. "And Chase overheard you talking once with your brother on the phone about struggling with bills. He said a girl like you wouldn't fight back, that you'd fold if the pressure got high enough." Chase slammed his palm on the table. "Enough!" But he wasn't in control anymore. Not of the room, not of the narrative, not of anything. Elias stepped between us, his presence grounding me. "Is that true, Chase? You targeted her because she couldn't defend herself?" Chase's eyes darted wildly, searching for an escape that didn't exist. "That's not what happened," he barked. "She was incompetent, emotional, unprofessional. She was already a liability." "A liability you dated," Elias said coldly. That silenced him. The HR manager pushed back from the table, shaking. "We need to call legal and the board." Aubrey's voice softened to a breaking whisper. "There's more." Chase didn't just choose her for the fraud. He chose her for something personal. My stomach dropped. "What personal?" Aubrey wrung her hands, eyes full of guilt. Because of Elias." The room froze. Elias frowned. "Me?" "Yes," she whispered. "Chase knew you had an interest in her resume. He saw the email she sent your firm months ago. He knew you'd noticed her talent. He wanted to hurt you both." My heart thudded painfully. "But Elias didn't even know me." Aubrey hesitated. "He did," she said softly, "long before you met." Elias went still, and I saw something ripple across his face. "Aubrey," he said quietly, "what exactly do you mean by that?" Aubrey's confession seemed to pull every molecule of air from the room. Elias didn't move, didn't blink. He simply stared at her with a calm, so controlled it felt dangerous. "What do you mean?" he said slowly. "That I knew her long before we met." Aubrey wiped her tears, voice trembling. Chase showed me the email you sent to his father a year ago. You highlighted a case study Marissa wrote in grad school. You said she had potential, that she should be watched." My stomach clenched. "Watched?" Elias's jaw tightened. "That's not what I said." Aubrey shook her head quickly. "The email was twisted, but it was real. You noticed her work. You recommended Whitford Capital review her application." Chase read that and obsessed. I could barely process the words. "A year ago? Before I ever met Chase? Before I ever stepped foot in Whitford?" Chase sneered. "You were always Mercer's favorite little charity project. He flagged you. I just got there first." My breath hitched. "Flagged me? Why?" Elias finally looked at me, and something flickered behind his eyes. Regret, conflict, something deeper. "Your paper," he said quietly. "The one on forensic financial patterns. It identified a loophole in hedge fund reporting. A loophole Whitford Capital has been abusing for years." I felt the floor tilt beneath me. "You mean my student paper? It wasn't just a paper, Marissa. It was accurate enough to expose fraud if the right person used it." He exhaled slowly. "I wanted to recruit you, but I couldn't. Not while Whitford had already extended an offer." Aubrey nodded shakily, and when Chase saw that email, he took it as a challenge. Chase let out a bitter laugh. "You should thank me, Marissa. Without me, Mercer wouldn't give you the time of day." Elias stepped forward, his voice dangerously calm. "You chose her because you wanted to hurt me. Not because she was easy, not because she was weak." His stare hardened. "Because you envied anyone I valued." The HR manager whispered, horrified, "This is retaliation." The compliance officer scribbled notes so fast his pen almost tore the page. Chase's mask slipped entirely, revealing pure venom. "You never deserved the spotlight, Marissa. You were nothing until I..." "Enough." Elias's voice cut through him like a blade, but Chase wasn't done. He leaned close, eyes burning into mine. "You think this is over?" he hissed. "You have no idea what's coming." He straightened, breathing hard. And then the conference room door opened, revealing someone none of us expected to see. The conference room door swung open with a sharp metallic click. Everyone turned HR, compliance, Aubrey, even Chase, whose face drained of color the instant he saw who stepped inside. Arthur Whitford, Chase's father, founder of Whitford Capital, a man whose shadow stretched across Wall Street like a storm cloud. He walked with slow, deliberate steps, his tailored charcoal suit absorbing the fluorescent light rather than reflecting it. His gaze swept the room with chilling precision before landing on his son. "Chase," he said in a voice that felt like cold steel. "Explain why I received an urgent alert from federal auditors this morning." Chase swallowed, sweat glistening at his temple. "Dad, this isn't the time. I can handle this." Arthur's expression didn't change. "You haven't handled anything." Everyone stiffened. Elias's eyes narrowed slightly. He had expected someone powerful to be involved, but not this powerful. Arthur turned to HR. "Why is this meeting taking place without my authorization?" the HR manager stammered. We uncovered evidence of internal tampering involving Chase's credentials, and preliminary logs suggested a frame-up attempt toward Miss Lane." Arthur's jaw clenched once. "And you summoned my attorneys?" Elias stepped forward before HR could answer. "I summoned myself, Mr. Whitford." A tense hum settled between the two men, electricity thickening the air. Arthur gave Elias a cold smile. "Mercer Grant's golden boy. You've been waiting years for an opportunity like this." Elias didn't flinch. "I've been waiting for accountability." Arthur waved a dismissive hand. "Miss Lane is irrelevant, a temporary hire with no importance. We can settle this quietly." "No," Elias said firmly, "you won't bury her." Arthur's eyes sharpened. "Be careful, Mercer. You're playing with a dynasty you can't afford to provoke." "And you," Elias replied, "are playing with a criminal case you can't afford to lose." The compliance officer choked on his coffee. Arthur inhaled slowly, then turned to me for the first time. His gaze drilled into me, cold enough to frost glass. "You," he said, "are the reason my company is at risk." My heart pounded. "No, dude didn't do anything." Arthur's expression hardened. "Everyone does something. The question is whether it can be used against them." A tremor ran through me. Then he turned to Chase. "You will provide me with every detail, now." Chase opened his mouth, but Aubrey suddenly stepped between them. "Mr. Whitford," she whispered, trembling, "you don't understand. There's something you need to know." Arthur raised a brow. "And what is that?" Aubrey's voice cracked. Chase wasn't the only one involved. Arthur Whitford's stare could have splintered steel. "What exactly are you accusing my son of, Miss Klein?" Aubrey's hands shook as she clasped them together. "Not just Chase, sir. Someone else helped orchestrate the fraud, someone whose clearance outranks his." The room stiffened. Arthur's icy gaze narrowed. "Choose your next words very carefully." Aubrey swallowed. "The night the credentials were cloned." Chase wasn't acting alone. I heard him arguing with someone. He said, "If this goes wrong, it's on her, not us." And the other person told him to stop panicking. The HR manager leaned forward. And who was this other person? Aubrey hesitated, voice trembling. I didn't see the face, but I recognized the voice." Chase shot up from his seat. "Stop lying," Arthur glared at him. "Sit!" Chase sank back down, seething. Aubrey continued. "It was someone older, someone authoritative, someone he called Sir." Arthur stiffened. Elias's eyes flickered with realization, but he didn't speak. The compliance officer whispered, "Sir, that could implicate someone at the board level." Arthur's jaw pulsed dangerously. "Are you suggesting someone in my inner circle framed this girl?" Aubrey shook her head violently. "I'm not suggesting, I'm telling you what I heard." Silence crashed over the room. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my throat. I stared at Aubrey, struggling to understand how deep this nightmare went. Had I been a pawn in a scheme bigger than Chase? Bigger than Whitford Capital? Chase leaned toward his father, voice low and frantic. "Dad, she's trying to save herself. Don't listen. She's lying because Elias pressured her." "I didn't pressure anyone," Elias cut in sharply. "She's confessing because the truth is suffocating her." Arthur exhaled, pinching the bridge of his nose. "Enough." His voice, usually thunderous, sounded tired. Then he turned to me. "You were never meant to be part of this," he said. "Your involvement is incidental. If you walk away from this now, if you refuse to cooperate with investigators, I can ensure your name stays clean." My stomach twisted. Walk away and let Chase destroy someone else next time? Arthur's eyes darkened. "This is bigger than Chase." Elias stepped forward immediately. "Marissa isn't accepting any deal that silences her." Arthur stared him down. "You think you're protecting her, Mercer? You're dragging her into a war she cannot win." Elias's voice dropped to a quiet threat. "I didn't start this war, but I'll finish it." Arthur's gaze shifted to the door. "Then you should both hear," he said coldly, "what the auditors uncovered this morning." The doorknob turned and a federal agent walked in. A tall man in a navy suit stepped inside, flashing a badge that reflected off the glass walls like a warning flare. "Agent Rowan Pierce, Federal Financial Crimes Division." His voice was clear, clipped, and carried the kind of authority that made everyone straighten involuntarily. Even Arthur Whitford's expression faltered just for a second. Rowan scanned the room before settling his gaze on me. "Marissa Lane?" My stomach twisted. "Yes." He nodded. "We need to speak with you." Elias stepped in front of me instantly. "She doesn't speak without counsel." Rowan raised an eyebrow. "Of course. And you are?" "Elias Mercer, representing Miss Lane." Recognition flickered across Rowan's face. "Mercer Grant. That simplifies things." Arthur bristled. "Agent Pierce, my son and this girl are in the middle of an internal review. This is not the appropriate—" Rowan cut him off with a raised hand. "Mr. Whitford, federal jurisdiction supersedes internal procedure." A ripple of shock moved across the room. Rowan opened a folder and slid several documents onto the table. "We analyzed last week's flagged transactions. Not only were Miss Lane's credentials cloned, someone attempted to reroute funds into a dormant offshore account." Aubrey covered her mouth. HR gasped. Chase froze. Rowan continued. "That account was last active 15 years ago. Do you know who set it up?" Arthur stiffened. "Agent Pierce, I assure you. It was set up by you, Mr. Whitford." The room erupted. Arthur's face drained of color. "That's absurd." Rowan didn't blink. "The routing number matched transactions tied to an investigation we opened years ago into market manipulation. We always suspected someone at Whitford Capital was involved. Now we have a trail." My breath caught. "So someone revived that account to frame me?" Rowan nodded. "Correct. But they made a mistake. The transaction metadata shows 2 signatures, one belonging to Chase Whitford and one belonging to an older executive with high-level clearance." Everyone turned toward Arthur. His jaw worked. "You dare accuse?" Rowan held up a second document and email printout. "We also subpoenaed messages recovered from a private server, communications between you and your son discussing a necessary sacrifice to protect Whitford Capital." Aubrey let out a strangled gasp. Chase sprang to his feet. "Dad, don't say anything," but Arthur didn't move, didn't blink, didn't speak. Rowan faced me again. "Miss Lane, we believe you were intentionally selected as the fall person, and now we need your cooperation to move forward." My knees wobbled. "Move forward with what?" I whispered. Rowan's expression hardened. "The arrest of a Whitford." The conference room felt smaller now, as if the walls were closing in around all of us. Rowan Pierce didn't bother sitting. He stood like a judge delivering a sentence that had already been written. Chase shifted in his seat, chest rising and falling too fast, while Arthur's expression hardened into something unreadable. Dangerous. "I'm not discussing anything without my attorneys." Arthur finally said. Rowan smirked faintly. That's fine. They'll be contacted. But make no mistake, we're proceeding. He turned back to me. Miss Lane, you are a key witness. Your cooperation will determine how quickly we move. My pulse hammered. But I don't know anything. I didn't do anything. You know enough, Rowan replied, and your testimony fills gaps we've been trying to close for years. Years. This wasn't a scandal. It was a time bomb set long before I ever stepped into Whitford Capital. Chase suddenly slammed his palms onto the table. She's lying. She manipulated data. She stole my credentials. She, Elias, cut him off coldly. She's the only person here who hasn't lied. Arthur's gaze snapped to Elias. You're overstepping. No, Elias said, voice calm but lethal. I'm cleaning up the mess your son created. Something flickered in Arthur's eyes. Pride? Anger? Fear? It was impossible to tell. Rowan began gathering his documents. We'll formalize next steps shortly. Miss Lane, my office will reach out within the hour. Please make yourself available. My throat went dry. Available. It sounded less like a request and more like a command. Rowan turned to leave, but Arthur's voice sliced through the air. Miss Lane stays out of this. Rowan stopped. Excuse me? Arthur rose from his chair slowly, deliberately. She's already been humiliated publicly. She doesn't need to be dragged into federal proceedings. Rowan raised an eyebrow. You mean she doesn't need to talk about what your son did? Arthur stepped closer to me, too close. You don't want this, he said quietly. Trials, headlines, your life dissected. Walk away now and I'll ensure your future is handled. Handled. Like a problem. Like a loose end. Elias moved instantly, positioning himself between us. She's not for sale. Arthur's jaw tightened. Everyone is. No, Elias said, eyes burning into him. Not her. For the first time, Arthur looked shaken. Then Rowan's phone buzzed. He glanced down and his expression changed. Urgent. He turned to the room. We have a situation, he announced. A new development in the case. Chase paled. What development? Rowan locked eyes with him. Someone just turned themselves in. The entire room seemed to freeze around Rowan's announcement. Chairs creaked, breath stalled. Even the hum of the HVAC felt muted, swallowed by the shock rippling through everyone. Chase was the first to break. Who turned themselves in? That's impossible. But the panic leaking through his voice answered the question for him. He did know someone capable of it. Rowan didn't reveal anything yet. He simply slid his phone into his jacket pocket and said, The person is already being transported for questioning. Arthur's eyes narrowed. Name. Now. Rowan gave him a cool, unreadable stare. You'll know soon enough, Mr. Whitford. Aubrey clutched her arms around her body, whispering to herself, Oh God, I didn't think it would go this far. Chase shot her a venomous glare. This is your fault you pushed this. Actually, Elias interjected, it's your fault and your father's. Arthur bristled, but before he could respond, Rowan continued. The individual provided documentation, real documentation, about the offshore accounts. Not the doctored ones we've been tracing. This is original data. My heart thudded painfully. Original data meant someone inside Whitford had enough access to expose the real scheme, something far bigger than framing me. Rowan looked at me then. Miss Lane, this confession changes things. It strengthens your case significantly. My voice trembled. My case? You mean I'm officially part of this? You were part of it the moment they used your credentials, Rowan replied. But now you're no longer just a victim, you're a key witness. A wave of dread washed over me. Witness. Federal witness. Those words could change a life or ruin it. Arthur suddenly stepped forward, anger tightening every line of his face. This ends now. Whoever confessed is lying. My company will not fall because of one girl. Elias repeated, stepping in front of me. Your son orchestrated a frame job and nearly destroyed her life. You're fortunate she hasn't sued you out of existence. Arthur's lip curled. You think you're powerful enough to take us down? Elias didn't blink. If it protects her? Yes. Something shifted in Arthur's expression, a flicker of fear. Before anyone could speak again, Rowan's phone buzzed a second time. He glanced at the screen, his eyes widening. He looked up slowly. New update, he said. The person who turned themselves in just gave a written statement. We all leaned forward. Rowan finished, and they named the mastermind behind everything. Rowan didn't move for several seconds after reading the message. His expression hardened, not with shock, but with the grim acknowledgement of something he had suspected for a long time. When he finally spoke, the air in the conference room seemed to shrink. The person who confessed named the mastermind as someone higher than Chase, someone who engineered the system, the accounts, the cover-ups, and the scapegoat. Arthur straightened, chin lifting in icy defiance. And who do they claim that is? Rowan's gaze didn't waver. Your brother, Victor Whitford. The silence that followed was catastrophic. Arthur's composure cracked barely, but visibly. Aubrey gasped, covering her mouth. Chase stared blankly, as if the world had tilted beneath him. Even Elias's eyes darkened with recognition. Victor Whitford, the ghost of the Whitford Empire. The man whispered about in boardrooms, rumored to have vanished after a scandal decades earlier, never confirmed, never denied. He's dead, Arthur hissed. My brother died years ago. Everyone knows that. Rowan's voice cooled another degree. Victor Whitford is not dead. He's been living overseas, siphoning funds through dormant Whitford accounts, and the person who confessed this morning provided proof. Chase stumbled back a step. No, Dad, you said Uncle Victor, Arthur cut him off sharply. Enough. But it was too late. The fade was shattering. Elias leaned forward. So Victor returned, and he used Chase and Marissa as shields. Rowan nodded. The statement says Victor instructed Chase to move the funds. He promised the company would protect him if things fell apart. He encouraged him to use Marissa's credentials because she had no institutional protection. My stomach twisted. So I was a decoy, a distraction. More than that, Rowan said. You were the clean name they needed to muddy the trail. Rage coiled slowly inside me, not the sharp sting of humiliation this time, but something deeper, something that came from knowing they chose me because they thought no one would notice if I disappeared. Arthur stepped closer to Rowan, voice dropping to a venomous growl. You have no proof my brother is alive. Rowan handed him a printed photo, grainy, time-stamped, unmistakable. A man with Arthur's jawline, older, colder, stepping off a plane in Zurich. Aubrey whispered, "Oh my God!" But Rowan wasn't finished. He's not only alive, he said, he's already here. Chase's breath hitched. Here? Where? Rowan turned toward the door. In New York, and he requested to speak with exactly one person. He paused, letting the tension sharpen. Marissa Lane. My pulse thudded so loudly I could barely hear the rest of the room. Victor Whitford wanted to speak to me? Why me? Why the girl they thought was disposable? Rowan pressed a button on the conference phone. Bring him in. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the hallway fell into a hush, so complete it felt unnatural. The door opened slowly, and a man stepped inside. He was older than Arthur, face carved by time but sharpened by something colder. Calculation, hunger, a life without accountability. His hair was silver, his suit immaculate, and his eyes. His eyes were identical to Chase's. Elias stiffened beside me. Victor. Victor's smile was small, practiced, chilling. Elias. It's been a long time. Arthur's voice broke through the tension, hoarse with fury. I told you never to come back. Victor barely glanced at him. And yet here I am. You should be thanking me. I came to fix your son's mistakes. Chase flinched visibly like a child caught stealing. Victor's gaze slid to me, assessing me the way someone appraises an object at auction. "Marissa Lane," he said, as if tasting the name. "The girl who derailed an entire operation without even knowing it." My throat tightened. "I didn't derail anything. I survived what you tried to do to me." He tilted his head. "Survive? You misunderstand. You were chosen because you were predictable, quiet, forgettable. You were supposed to break." A tremor ran through Mirage, not fear. Elias stepped closer, his tone ice. "You came back to intimidate her?" "No," Victor said casually. "I came back to offer her a way out." Rowan narrowed his eyes. "A way out of what?" Victor looked at him like he was a bothersome insect. "You want evidence? I have it. Files, accounts, the whole truth. Enough to bring down Whitford Capital entirely." Arthur startled. "Victor, what are you doing?" "But," Victor continued smoothly, "I will only hand it over if Miss Lane publicly states that Chase acted alone, that she was manipulated by him, that she forgives the company." I recoiled. "You want me to save Whitford Capital? After everything?" Victor shrugged. "You want protection? A future? Your life back? Deals must be made." It felt like the walls closed in. If I refused, the Whitfords would unleash hell. If I agreed, Chase would escape justice and Victor would walk free again. I looked at Elias. "What do I do?" Victor smiled wider. "You choose," he said, "but choose wisely." Elias's phone buzzed sharply. He looked at the screen, his face tightening with sudden alarm. "Marissa, your brother just called 911. The moment Elias said my brother had called 911, the room around me dissolved. Victor, Arthur, Chase, the Whitford Empire, everything blurred. My heart slammed against my ribs as if trying to break free. "What happened?" I gasped, grabbing Elias's arm. He lowered the phone, his voice steady but urgent. "Your brother said someone tried to break into your apartment." A cold wave shot through me. "Is he okay? Is he hurt?" "He didn't say," Elias replied. "He just said someone was banging on the door, trying the lock and shouting your name." Chase stiffened, face blanching. I didn't send anyone." Victor tilted his head thoughtfully. "Not this time." Rowan stepped closer. "Agent Pierce, FBI," he said into his radio. "We need units dispatched to Queens. Possible intimidation attempt linked to federal witnesses." My knees nearly buckled. I'd barely processed being a target inside Whitford Capital. Now danger was at my home, inches from my brother. Elias touched my shoulder. "Marissa, look at me. We'll get to him." Arthur glared. "You're assuming this is connected to us," Rowan snapped. "Everything is connected to you right now." Aubrey looked horrified. "Oh my God, if someone went after her family?" Victor cut in smoothly. "Don't be dramatic. Fear makes people sloppy. Maybe someone wanted leverage." The way he said it, calm, casual, made bile rise in my throat. "You're a monster," I whispered. Victor smiled. "I'm practical." Elias stepped between us. "Your practicality ends today." Victor's smirk widened. "Does it? Because from where I'm standing, Marissa's choices are shrinking by the second." Rowan's radio crackled. "Units en route. Possible forced entry confirmed. Alarm triggered." I clutched my chest. "My brother, he's alone. He's just a kid. He doesn't..." "Marissa," Elias said firmly, gripping my hand. "We're going now." But Rowan blocked the door. "She can't leave yet." Elias glared. "Her family is in danger. You're not stopping her." Rowan's jaw tightened. "We need her statement before Victor can alter his offer or flee the state. She is the center of this investigation." My voice broke. "My brother could die. He comes first." Rowan hesitated. Then Victor spoke quietly, too quietly. "If you want him to live, Marissa, accept my deal. Right now." My blood turned to ice. "Say Chase acted alone," Victor murmured. "Say you forgive Whitford Capital. Do that and I'll make one phone call that stops everything." My heart stopped. Elias's grip tightened. "Marissa," he whispered, "don't you dare." Victor leaned forward, eyes like knives. "Choose your brother's safety or the truth." For a moment, time fractured. Victor's words echoed through my head, sharp as broken glass. "Choose your brother's safety or the truth." Every breath turned into a knife. Every fear I'd ever tucked away erupted at once. My brother, my only family, left alone in our tiny apartment while a stranger tried to break in. And me, trapped in a gleaming conference room on Park Avenue while powerful men played chess with my life. I felt Elias shift closer, his voice low, steady. "Marissa, look at me. This is what they want, panic. Don't let him win." But Victor simply smiled, patient and poisonous. "Tick-tock, Miss Lane. I can end this today or you can watch your life burn." "Agent Pierce," I pleaded. "You have to let me go. My brother needs me." Rowan's jaw flexed. "Units are en route. No confirmation of harm. We need your cooperation before Victor flees." "This isn't about him fleeing," I cried. "This is about my brother." Arthur stepped forward. "This girl is emotional. She's not thinking clearly." Elias turned on him, voice cold as stone. "She's thinking more clearly than you ever have." Rowan lifted a hand. "Everyone stop. Marissa, what exactly did your brother say?" Elias read the message aloud. "Someone is trying the door. They know your name. I'm hiding. Please hurry." My stomach twisted violently. I have to choose. Victor's expression softened into something almost sympathetic, except sympathy from him felt like poison disguised as water. "Testify against Chase," he murmured, "and the boy becomes collateral. Choose my deal and he walks away untouched." My legs shook. "You're blackmailing me with my brother's life." Victor lifted a brow. "Blackmail is such an ugly word. I prefer incentive." Aubrey suddenly burst out. "Marissa, don't listen. Victor doesn't leave witnesses. He silences them. He'll come after you next." Victor smirked. "Perhaps, but not today." I felt myself shaking. Tears blurred the edges of everything: Elias's tense shoulders, Rowan's conflicted stare, the Whitfords hovering like vultures. Elias stepped in front of me, voice fierce. "Marissa, you are not alone. We can protect him. We can protect you. Don't choose their darkness." But Victor's voice slid through the room like smoke. "You don't have minutes, Miss Lane. You have seconds." The door burst open. A young officer rushed in, breathless. "Agent Pierce update on the apartment." Rowan turned sharply. "Is the boy safe?" The officer hesitated, eyes widening at me. "He's safe, but there's something else." He stepped closer, voice trembling. "We found a note on the apartment door, and it's addressed to Marissa Lane." The officer held the note like it was radioactive, edges crumpled from the frantic drive over. My hand shook as I took it. The room fell silent. Victor, Arthur, Chase, Elias, Rowan, every eye watching. The envelope was thin, unmarked, but the handwriting on the front made my stomach drop. Marissa Lane. "You should have stayed quiet." Chase paled. "Dad, he knows where she lives." Rowan snapped. "Everyone step back. Miss Lane, open it carefully." I peeled it open with trembling fingers. A single line lay inside, scrawled in rushed ink. "Your brother was never the target. You were." A cold shiver traveled up my spine. Rowan turned to Victor. "Is this your doing?" Victor smiled faintly. "If it were, she wouldn't be holding a note. She'd be holding a eulogy." That was the last straw. Elias slammed his palm on the table. "Enough. You're done controlling this narrative." Rowan nodded sharply, signaling the officer. "Arrest him." For the first time, Victor's confidence cracked. "On what grounds?" Rowan lifted a folder. "Fraud, conspiracy, witness intimidation, and thanks to the individual who turned themselves in, your own associate, we have recorded calls, financial trails, and offshore accounts leading straight to you." Chase stumbled backward. "Uncle Victor? You said you promised." Victor hissed. "You were supposed to follow orders, not lose your temper over a girl." "And that," Elias said, stepping beside me, "is why you failed." As the cuff snapped onto Victor's wrists, something inside me loosened a knot I'd carried for years. The fear, the humiliation, the guilt, it all began to dissolve. Arthur stood frozen, watching the empire he built crumble. Chase shook violently, no longer a golden boy, just a frightened man exposed. Aubrey whispered, "It's over, isn't it?" Rowan nodded. "For them, yes." Then he turned to me. "And for you, it's the beginning." My knees weakened, but Elias caught my arm gently. His voice softened. "Your brother is safe. Officers are with him now." Tears blurred my vision. Relief crashed through me so hard it almost hurt. Thank God Elias smiled, the first real smile I'd seen from him. "Marissa, you didn't just survive them, you beat them." Weeks later, at a quiet ceremony overlooking the Manhattan skyline, Mercer Grant appointed me Director of Ethics and Compliance, a role I never dreamed I could earn. And as the sun set over the river, Elias took my hand. "This isn't charity," he murmured. "This is where you always deserve to be." I believed him. For the first time in my life, I finally believed him. So that's how our story comes to an end. And if you're still here with us right now, my friend, it means something in this journey, touched your heart in its own quiet way. Maybe it reminded you of a moment you survived. Maybe it reminded you of a strength you forgot you had. Or maybe it simply made you feel seen. You know, the ancient Stoic Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Marissa's pain became her path, her humiliation became her awakening, and her trials became her proof that no one has the right to define your worth except you. Life will put obstacles in front of you. People will underestimate you. Some will even betray you. But as Seneca said, fire tests gold and hardship tests the brave. If you're going through something heavy right now, maybe this story found you for a reason. Maybe it's a reminder that you're stronger than the storm you're facing. If this message stayed with you, please give this video a like, share it with someone who might need it, and don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us continue telling stories that heal, empower, and stay with you long after the screen goes dark. We're here with you, always.